Welcome to Cap the Cage. This is another UFC MMA betting show that you can watch and follow as we continue to grow this channel here. I'm your host, Ronald Cabang, also known as Youcapper from sportsmemo.com at @U_Capper on Twitter. Got my two buddies here, Pat Gerhart, Gerhart 94 at YBB Sports Data, Harry Mack, BB Harry Mack on Twitter. My guys, we finally did it. We missed last week's show because of scheduling, but we are finally here. We got our first episode up and running. How are you guys feeling, man? This year is going to be awesome. I feel like MMA continues to grow year after year, and this is no different. A lot of up and coming talent growing through the weeds here. And we're going to talk about that too. In the Mud Bets is something that we're going to talk about a lot in our show, and that's going to be Harry Mack's specialty. All these non UFC production fights here. We're gonna talk about some of those because we can get a lot of value from them. But Harry, man, this is our first show together. Talk about what you do and in your connection to the MMA game.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you guys for thinking of me, for having me on. But yeah, I've been covering MMA for a few years now, mostly from a gambling perspective. Focused a lot on kind of the Northeast regional scene and guys up here. I'm a New York guy. I train at Law MMA, Sarah Longo. I grew up watching Chris Weidman and Aljo and Rage Al and all these guys. I fell in love with the sport that way, and yeah, from there, I've just kind of done a bunch of interviews. I do written play-by-play for PFL during the season. You can find my work on their website, and yeah, you can find my interviews and my work on thebookiesbasement.com. That's where most of my content lives. But yeah, man, I'm excited to be here. Like you said, I love to get in the weeds, get in the mud with it. I think you can find a lot of value on some of these kind of lower volume, lesser known, lesser bet events where there isn't as much information available on the fighters, not as much tape available. You can just find some softer spots that you can exploit. And yeah, that's the plan. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make you guys some money.
Yeah, man, I can't wait to hear some of those takes too. Pat, YBB Sports Data. We've done a few shows together. So a lot of like NBA, some baseball, like on Let's Cap. But man, excited to do this UFC MMA type show with you because we've been talking about it for a while. Just doing something like this. So super excited to get this going with you. Can you talk to the viewers here about what your connection to MMA as well? I know you've been a fan your whole life and all that stuff, and you've been betting MMA for a while as well.
Yep. What's funny about it is YBB Sports Data, when we first created the page, was actually surrounded by MMA bets, MMA predictions. Harry Mack, he was one of my first friends actually in the Twitter space on MMA. He had a little contest. I won it. And it's just been kind of, that's kind of where, we kind of grew up from there. YBB, for those of you who don't know, is a network of researchers like myself. And we provide just sports data and stuff. But I'm the MMA guy. I love MMA. I believe that it's the most genuine sport in the world. You don't have fouls. You don't have you don't have a lot of things. You're locking 2 men in a cage and the better man comes out. It's like watching Gladiator, but in like real life. So most genuine sport in the world. I can't wait to talk about it with you guys. And yeah, thanks a lot for having me on.
Yeah, man. As you can tell, man, just off what you guys are saying and you guys' experience, you guys are the more experienced guys in the MMA. And for the most part, I'll be playing as host. But I mean, I've been a fan since they didn't have weight classes and shit like that. So this is something that I haven't been betting my whole life. For the most part, I usually do like the typical US sports, right? The US major sports and soccer and stuff now. But UFC, I've been a fan of for a while. Now I'm just getting into the betting side of it. And I think you guys are like the perfect two, panelists, two co-hosts to have on the show just because you guys have that experience. So I'm excited about this one. And with that said, man, let's get into it. This is going to be our first episode. Like I said, we're going to try to go through a flow and see if this works out to the viewers, man. Leave some comments. Let us know how we're doing. And if you like the flow of the show. But this is what we're going to do. We're going to start off with the top prospect of the event, UFC 283. We got, some, I wouldn't say the youngest prospects on the board, but we know we got one guy that you guys want to talk about here, Jailton. Almeida, and he's one guy that he's not a young cat, but how many hours does he have in the cage, right? And that's what we were talking about right before the show. What do we call a prospect in the UFC or in MMA in general? Let's start with you, Harry. What are your thoughts on this one? I mean, we talked about Jailton being the top prospect on the card, but I mean, his age wise, what are your thoughts as far as UFC prospects in that matter?
Yeah, so we were talking about this off the air a little bit, and I think we all kind of came to the conclusion that the more important thing, as far as considering somebody a prospect, considering them whatever you want to consider them, is cage time, right? And I mean, listen, 19 pro fights is spring chicken, you know what I mean? Like that's that's a lot of cage time. So maybe it's not necessarily fair to group him in as a prospect with some of these younger guys, but he just came into the UFC, just came in off the Contender Series, whatever it may have been. I do actually kind of wish that he had stayed at 205 rather than moving up to heavyweight, just because it would be nice to have an interesting prospect at 205. But he's gone 3-0 in the UFC so far, all finishes. He finished his Contender Series fight. I think the hype it's fair to be excited about this guy. You know what I mean? It's fair to be hyped up about him, see where he can go. And it's not like heavyweight is a super incredible division either right now, especially with Francis Ngannou just leaving. It's not exactly a deep division, so he can definitely make some noise there. He is 32, so like you said, clock is ticking. He's probably got a year or two to really climb those rankings and make a real run at this thing, but he seems to have all the tools to do that, man. He's a 9-1 favorite this weekend, which is no joke at all in MMA. But those are my thoughts. I think it's very fair to be excited about him as a top prospect. The Bonfim brothers are also interesting, but as far as a guy who, like, if you had to, gun to my head, which of these guys is going to be ranked the highest 1 year from right now, it's Jailton.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, if you think about, he's had 3 UFC fights so far outside of the Contender Series. First round finishes in all 3, man, and the odds continue to show that he becomes a favorite even more so every time. So his first fight, Danilo minus 355, Parker Porter minus 450, Anton minus 605. Now minus 1,000. We're seeing like minus 1,200 in some spots.
Yeah,
Pat, I mean, like, what are we thinking here? I mean, as far obviously he's probably one of the top. He's the top prospect on the card that we're talking about, but. Another first round finish here? I mean, is that the way to go?
Oh, I mean, I wouldn't put it past it. There's a reason why Shamil has been withdrawn from this fight a couple times. One of them, he said he had an injury. Another one, he said he had visa issues. Hopefully he shows up Saturday. We'll see if he's even in Brazil. I haven't really been keeping up with his Instagram too much, but I wouldn't be shocked if he pulls out again. This is the thing with Jailton, right? Jailton, he comes out of the Contender Series. He takes on Nasruddinov, who he fought at in a Russian scene called ACA, which is an established promotion over there. And those Russian guys are all, Dagestani wrestlers. So to get that win as a big underdog on the Dana White Contender Series was really opening the door to Jailton's potential in the UFC. I cannot wait to buy this guy's rookie cards. His rookie cards are coming out. So if he showcases off this fight and he gets a first round finish, you can expect when that product releases that his cards are already going to be really expensive. So I think there's only one way to look here. I think it's Jailton Almeida. I'm not a fan of the price tag, but I do consider him the prospect of the card. He is featuring the early prelims, but nonetheless, he is still the feature early prelim. In Brazil, he is Brazilian, so this is going to be, it's a showcase fight. So.
They're clearly trying to build him up. Like, I don't think anyone's going to hide that. Shamil is ranked, but he's lost 3 in a row. I think he's been finished in all 3. Yes, he has. So, like, it's very obvious what they're doing here. You know what I mean? They're not really fooling anybody, but at the same time, like we said, there's kind of a lack of quality bodies at heavyweight. So this is a good way to get him into the rankings, kind of get him into the mix. And from here, you can realistically book him in a top 7 to 5 fight.
Yeah, and he's a top prospect on this card for a couple reasons. He's going to be a household name soon. He's taken on somebody who was ranked 2 fights ago. I don't even know if Shamil's still ranked. He's definitely not in the top 10, but I don't know if he's top 15.
Definitely not in the top 10. I thought he was still like 15 or something like that.
He might, but for Gelton to even do that, think about it. Like, Gelton's a light heavyweight. He's going up to heavyweight. He has no problem because he can't find people that want to fight him. So this is the UFC's trying to prop this guy up. This is a guy to watch. So if you guys are going out Saturday night, make sure you tune in to Gelton Almeida. He is definitely the prospect of this card, and I do think he'll get a highlight finish. So,
what do you think about this though? Junior wins in round 1, or Gelton wins in round 1 by KO TKO, plus 325. I mean,
I don't hate it. So, like, it's just such a huge step up in competition. You know what I mean? Like, for that price, like, I would just need the price to be better personally, because Shamil is currently ranked to number 15, so they're gonna sneak Gelton right into the back of the rankings here. But yeah, you know what? At the end of the day, it is still Shamil has fought some fucking killers over the years. You know what I mean? He's been in there with, I mean, just magnitude levels of better competition than Gelton.
Blades, Dawkins.
Right. Like those guys are killers. And I don't think Gelton's fought anybody like that to this point. So
yeah,
I would need a better price personally, even though it's pretty likely. It's a highly likely outcome, but I would need a better price on that.
I agree. Let's get on to this next one. I mean, obviously we have, I think what we talked about here is not a whole bunch of like big names, right? So we got some prospects here. Gelton, we got the bomb films, but we also got another fight here that we've seen many times here. We got Figgy and Moreno, number 4. We kind of talked about this off air. It seems like Figgy got Moreno's number, right? 2 against 1, 2-on-1, but we can only see. I mean, there's a reason why there's this 4th fight. I think they bring a lot of entertainment to their fights. But for the most part, it almost seems like Figgy gets another win here in some way or fashion. Pat, what are your thoughts on it?
I've got to go back to Figgy, man. And look, I don't want to, it sucks because I like Brandon. I like Brandon Moreno. I like the hype and energy that he brings every single walkout. I think a lot of people... Guys. Yeah, a lot of people are going to look into his volume, his boxing, his wrestling. He can mix it up very well. And this was the argument that was in the first fight. The second fight was the best I've ever seen Brandon Moreno look. Let's not forget, he was rocked a couple times in that Kai Kara France fight. That was way more competitive than it should have been for a minus 200 favorite. There's a lot of things going on for Figgy in this fight. And one of them is his switch to fight ready. He's already cut off the weight. He looks good. He looks in good shape. I know it's a tough weight cut, but he is a big flyweight. Here's the other thing. He hits a lot harder than Brandon Moreno. A lot of people are going to say that the volume's going to be too much because it was kind of the case in the second fight, maybe in the first fight too. But going into that first fight, Figgy had finished, I think, every single fight in the first round leading up to the first fight. So in the later rounds, he had the stomach flu. Brandon Moreno was kind of taking over. There was a point deduction. As Harry said, before we went live, is that Figgy was on his way to win 48-47 had there not been a point deduction. Completely agree with him.
That was clear 3-2 Figgy with no point deduction. I don't think anybody will argue that.
It was clear. And I hate saying this because I like Brandon Moreno, but I think, I'm pricing Figgy closer to, minus 140 range, similar to what Harry said. We're seeing eye to eye on this. And, the move to fight ready, like I said, when you switch camps, you get different aspects, different dynamics, different bodies in the gym to work with, a better understanding of like your opponent.
Sure.
This is massive.
If you have trouble making weight, there's not really a better guy to work with than Henry Cejudo as far as getting down as being a big dude and getting down to flyweight.
Exactly. So if you're asking me to pick a side, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to wait until all that Brandon Moreno money comes in, which it is right now. And I'm going to bet Figgy. I'll bet him at dog odds because not only is this fight in Brazil, not only does he hit harder, we just saw Figgy beat him in a 5-round fight, knock him down twice, took Brandon Moreno's best shots, stayed on the feet. Figgy is, he is Brandon Moreno's, I think, kryptonite in the division. And this is a rightful 4th fight. You had 1 Brandon, 1 Deiveson, 1 draw. But really, when I look at it overall as a whole price, I'm just thinking that the value is on Figgy, and I think that even in the first fight, Figgy was doing the damn thing. Even on a stomach virus, he won 48-47. So
right.
all
And
of
in the
that
second
being
fight,
said,
I think we saw the worst version of Figgy and the best version of Moreno in the second fight, and the fight that
makes sense.
Moreno
100%.
lost.
And that was when he made that. That was when he made that switch to fight ready. So
Right.
I just think that
And
the
when he
training
had
camp
trouble with cut and all that shit.
Yes, give me Deiveson, and that's something that I would look towards to probably on Saturday morning because, like I said, I think.
Do you feel like more money is going to come on Moreno?
Yes, definitely. I just think he's got the bigger name value. I know that the fight card's happening in Brazil, but we're already seeing that move. You know, this was minus 120 Deiveson, and now we've seen the line flip. So now,
do you think this is one that goes the distance? I mean, 2 out of the 3 would have gone the distance, right?
I would say so. I would say so.
I mean, dude, you just seeing Moreno. Like, so if we like Figgy, I feel like it should go the distance for the most part. Cause Moreno got a chin, bro. Like, if he's not gonna finish him by submission, he's not gonna get knocked out,
bro.
Yeah, he's not gonna get knocked out. And so it's either Figgy by submission or decision. In that case,
I agree. I just think that the number itself on the money line, if you do like a fighter, you're getting a great price tag. So, and if you want to prop it up, go ahead. But I think that this is a better fight to either bet the dog in his hometown versus an opponent who lost his coach mid-fight. Let's not forget, James Krause is being investigated. That was his coach going into this fight. He had to make a sudden switch. Yeah, you had to make a sudden switch to where's he at now? He's in Dallas, fighting with Saif Saeed. So
yeah, Fortis, right?
He's at Fortis MMA, but I'm trying to think of like flyweights that they have over there for, you know, bodies to throw at him. And it's not really, you know, there's not a lot of bodies for Brandon Moreno. I feel like, I think this was just, I don't know. Like I said, I would prefer betting Brandon had he stayed with James Krause, but yeah.
I think, I mean, obviously I'm there with you guys on this, on Figgy here. I think matchup wise, we kind of seen that. I mean, he has the advantage matchup wise. It's just a matter of, you know, I think you're right. I think we don't go too crazy and just stick with the simple money line there and just take Figgy. That might be the best way to go there.
Yeah, that's like that keep it simple stupid play, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's so easy to outthink yourself
all the time. Like, damn, man, I shouldn't have played the first quarter. I should have just took the full game.
Right.
Same thing with MMA, right? Like, I mean, instead of just trying to figure out when he's gonna knock him out or when he's gonna win, just take the money line. Especially at this odd, it's not like it's not like one of those minus 200s or minus 300s type stuff. Where,
exactly. Like, you're getting plus money or even money at worst, basically. Like, I think Figgy is a phenomenal play. Absolutely. It scares me that we're all in agreement, but that's another issue for another day.
That's how
I wonder if we can find the line on will there be a point deducted? Because I don't hate that at all. Figgy,
there's draw.
I love Figgy, but Figgy loves to cheat. He loves to cheat.
No, it's true. It is true, especially when he's tired. If Moreno puts that pressure on, you'll see him grab the cage,
he'll poke you in the fucking eye. Like, he'll grab your gloves. He'll grab your fucking whatever.
But you know what? Those are guys I want to bet on. Those are guys that I would put my money on because I'm like, you know what? Don't lose. You better cheat right now.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to lose my bet.
You ain't cheating. You ain't trying.
Exactly. So give me Figgy.
I like it.
Let me see.
Let's get to the main
line real quick.
The main card here, Teixeira and Hill. This one's tough for me, man. I think initially I did like Hill here, but you guys off air was kind of talking me off of it here. The reason why I liked Hill was primarily just because Teixeira's getting hella old. He's 43 now. The way that I saw him fight against Yuri, it seemed like 6 months between fights, right? 6 or 7 months now. I feel like that's a long time, and obviously he's gonna do his best to be in form and in shape, man. But 43 against a young cat like this, who's really, I feel like he's pretty accurate in his striking, and I don't know how much the Glover's gonna take, but you guys have kind of talked me off of it at this point. Talk about it, man. Harry, give me some notes here about why you think Harry can get it done here, or the possibilities of what he can do.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, I mean, listen, I know MMA math is funky. It doesn't always work, but I see this one very simply. It's crazy to me that Glover is the dog in this fight. Absolutely crazy. We just saw Glover and Yuri put on possibly the fight of the year for 2022. Glover clearly winning the fight up until he got subbed at the last second. And personally, I rate Yuri much, much, much better than I rate Jamahal Hill. Jamahal Hill just went life and death with the ghost of Thiago Santos. Like took everything he had to get Thiago Santos up out of there. And I mean, I think there's levels between, even at his big age, I think there's levels between Glover and Thiago right now. I think plus money on Glover is fucking crazy to me. I think you absolutely have to take that if you can get it. I think there's a very clear path to victory. I think he's a stylistic he's the bad stylistic matchup for Jamahal Hill. I mean, very good wrestling, very good top pressure, good at staying heavy on top, position over submission, doesn't make a ton of mistakes, even though he made a couple in the Yuri fight. I wouldn't be surprised to see him lock up arm triangle or a head and arm choke or something like that. You know, kind of a finish from half guard, a finish from mount, something like that. But I don't understand Jamahal Hill being favored in this fight whatsoever. I think at the dog in his hometown in Brazil, you absolutely have to take over.
Yeah, that is big. His hometown being one. I mean, so I'm just looking at this, right? The quick breakdown here, and you can see that the height, the reach advantage on Hill's side, right? Like, how bad is his takedown defense that he won't be able to take advantage of his length, right? Like that's the way that I think about it. And obviously, with age, your speed comes down a little bit. That's the only those were the reasons why I kind of looked towards Hill's way. But I mean, you guys have good points. Pat, what do you think?
Like I said, man, I think Jamahal Hill is the most one-dimensional light heavyweight there is in the division right now. His power is something
really
else.
Said something.
But that's his equalizer. That's his equalizer, though. It's his power. He's so heavy on the lead foot. It's not like he's the fastest light heavyweight. The fastest light heavyweight is injured right now. You know, so it's. I don't know, man. I'm with Harry on this. I don't know why Jamahal Hill is favored. And you know what? Let's talk about takedown defense for a second. He got taken down 6 times by Thiago Santos. Thiago Santos is not a wrestler. Thiago Santos blew both of his knees out and still landed 6 takedowns. Sure, Jamahal Hill got up. Klidson Abreu, he got taken down in that fight as well. I believe that's his Dana White Contender Series. But regardless, he still got taken down. Sure, he gets up. Again, the power is the equalizer in this spot.
Yeah.
Is there a scenario where I can see him knocking out Glover? Yeah, of course. But the thing is I don't think he's as fast or as dynamic as people make him out to be. I think he hits hard. If he does knock him out, I see something similar to like the Rumble Johnson, how he knocked out Glover. I think it'll be quick, and I wouldn't hate it or anything. You got to show me more than just power. And I think what Glover does very well is takes you out of your comfort zone. He fights with heart. Let's take it back to when he fought Thiago Santos. He was rocked, he was wobbled, but he still got the takedown. And one thing about Glover that separates him from Klidson, that separates him from Thiago, is that his top control is insane. Jamahal Hill, he tries to escape. I can see a scenario where, Harry pointed it out, where I can see an arm triangle. He's so dangerous. He has great top control. And we've seen him kind of, a little bit of a resurgence here. And let's not also forget that he went into December with a full training camp. Jamahal Hill's had 3 weeks? You had Christmas, you had all that coming up. He's been training with Alex Pereira. There's a lot of advantages going for Glover. He's fighting at his hometown. This is like the perfect case scenario for him. I think he can reclaim the belt. But my thing is, whoever wins, there's a great story for both sides of the winner. Not only can we get Glover versus Jerry too, but we can get a scenario where Alex Pereira goes up and avenges Glover's loss against Jamahal Hill.
Yeah.
I thought about this in my head, and I'm like, you know what? I don't really care who wins. I think this is going to be a great fight. But for odds perspectives and just the number, I like Glover in the spot. And I don't know that I would wait. I think from a books perspective, it's accurate. But I think from a money line perspective, I still would have Glover at like minus 130, minus 135. So for all of those reasons, I'm taking Glover. This is
where I want to learn from you guys, because of your experience betting in MMA, is sometimes you don't sometimes you have a thought that something's gonna happen, but for the most part, how do you value the line in that sense, right? Like, say if you saw something like earlier, I don't know what exactly what it was like. I think it was Hill by TKO plus 110. Like, yeah, it's likely it can happen, but would you pay that
Yeah.
price? Is that thought process that I'm
No.
still kind of learning in MMA? You know what I mean? Like, do you want to put your money in that spot? You know, maybe it does happen, or you look for another spot where you get a better value. That's one thing that I want to learn from this show, from you guys as more experienced MMA bettors, and hopefully the viewers as well, because it's something I think, Pat, when we first started talking about UFC and betting MMA, that's one thing I never got. Every time you said it, you were like, "Yeah, I mean, I see this happening, but I don't like the number, and I'll bet this because of the number." You know what I mean? Those were things that I
Yeah.
still need to understand, and through the shows, hopefully I get to understand that a little bit better. But I'm starting to get what you guys are saying here with Teixeira and the look on his side. So definitely makes a lot more sense to me now than it did earlier. As you guys continue to break that down, but man, it's just tough. It is tough to me. It's such a huge age gap. 43 being the oldest on this card specifically. We talked about Rua. I mean, we talked about Rua being on this card. We could just talk about that real quick. I know we're talking about Teixeira Hill, but
I
talking
have
about the age gap
complaints. I have
right before the
grievances.
show, Pat was like, "Yeah, Rua seems older than Glover, but body wise and how they move, but Rua is actually younger by a couple years." Man, that's tough. I mean, you want to see Rua go out in better fashion. Harry, you had some strong takes on this one. You can talk about it here.
Tell him why you
Yeah,
mad.
man. I just think it's fucked up that like, bro, Shogun is a legend of the game. He is like, his Pride run, that middleweight Grand Prix, will probably never ever be replicated in the sport. That's like one of the most impressive feats in the history of mixed martial arts, like modern day, past, whatever the fuck you want to call it. The guy deserves better for a retirement fight. The fucking no name who does nothing for his legacy in his second career UFC fight. Like, come on, who is Ihor Potieria? Who the fuck is that guy? Who is that guy? Like, Shogun is a household name, man. He deserves better than that. Like, I just find it hard to believe that you couldn't find some sort of legend, or you know what I mean, somebody closer to his age, closer to his level and skill, that you could have sent him out there against. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know. I just think
100%
they're
agree
doing
on
him
that.
dirty.
It's like he deserved that respect, right?
Right. Like,
He
there has
does.
to
He
be a
does.
better matchup out there for him. There has to be something that does, like, a Legends fight. You know what I mean? Some other older 205, or like somebody that does something for his legacy, rather than like, now you can just take some Contender Series kid and be like, look, dude, he beat Shogun Rua. He's got a fucking name on his resume. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they did those types of fights for like Iceman and stuff like that
Bro, they
before,
love to
right?
do that shit. Look at Frankie Edgar getting
Yeah,
fed to fucking Chris Gutierrez a couple of months ago. They love to do that shit. It's mad disrespectful.
it is disrespectful. It's kind of crazy. Pat, did you have any takes on that one on Rua?
Man, Harry stole everything that I was gonna say, but he makes it. He added a lot of personality to it. So I feel the same way, man. I just, I think it's really disrespectful for him to be fighting Ihor. Ihor is not good. The numbers are not good. This is a fight where I'm just like, it's gonna be sad to watch. He is on the featured prelim, so there you go. He's the featured bout. But all you're
Right.
gonna see him do is put his gloves in the middle of the octagon, walk out in his hometown in Brazil, and those are spots where you want to set up somebody like that with a win, not somebody who's,
Exactly.
brand new to the UFC, who's off a
Right.
loss. And I just don't like it, man. It's so
No.
cringy. Harry stole everything I was going to say, but yeah, he
I
deserves
mean,
better.
bro, like, a fight that just came into my head, like Alexander Gustafsson, 36 years old, 205-pound legend, lost his last 2 fights, hasn't fought since July of last year. Like, why not make that fight? That fight makes, even if like Gus isn't as washed as Shogun is, like, that is at least like, it's 2 old legends. It does something for their legacy. Is like,
Yep.
that makes so much more sense to me than like trying to build up some fucking Contender Series nobody. But
Yeah, it's
the
better for
difference
the
is to
it
fucking
would be
pay
better
those
for the
guys.
sport too. So I
Right,
totally agree with you.
exactly. I think Gus v. Shogun as a retirement fight, maybe a retirement fight for both of them, that draws way more eyes than Shogun versus a random contender series guy.
Fred.
It sucks. It sucks. I hate that they do that to these legends on their way out. It's tough to watch because you always want to root for them, right? On their way out.
Right.
But they put these types of fights where it's just not. It almost seems like it's not entertaining as it should be.
Bro, I had to watch Frankie Edgar, one of my childhood heroes, get knocked out 4 consecutive times, get brutally KO'd 4 straight times. Like, leave the man be, let him rest. Fuck, dude, that shit sucks. I hate that shit.
That is awesome. I love the vibe that you bring to the show, Harry. I love it. You know what? Hey, with that, we talked about the co-main event, the main event. We talked about the top prospects. We want this to be a betting show, so we're gonna talk about some bets. We did talk about some bets through our breakdowns and things like that. But we want to. We have these 2 sections that are coming up, and we're gonna do this. Obviously moving forward, but we're gonna have hot takes. We're gonna have hot takes. Those are 200 plus 200 bets or greater. And then we're gonna have your best bet, and that would be just your normal whatever what you place on yourself on your own time. It doesn't have to be a plus money. It could be something that's minus. It's what your favorite bet is for the show. And with that said, let's start with it. Let's go with the hot takes first. Pat, let's start with you, Pat.
Hot take of the week. Let's get it. Yeah, you had it right up there. I'm going to say Glover Teixeira wins by decision. You can actually get that at plus 650 on Bovada right now. Let's talk about it. Is there a scenario where I see Jamahal landing that plus 110 knockout shot? Sure. Is that a hot take? No, not at all. Is Glover Teixeira winning by submission a hot take? No, not really. Not at all. As a matter of fact, the under 1.5 rounds is minus money. So do I see value there? No, not at all. Let's dig into it. Not only do we see Glover Teixeira almost go the distance with the most elite striker we have in light heavyweight right now. I'm not going to say in history, but I will say in light heavyweight, I think Jerry Prohaska is the most diverse striker we have. He's quick on the feet. He goes the distance. And if you look back at that fight, guess what? The under 1.5 minus 250. Everyone's thinking that it's going to be over so soon that Glover's he's out of it. You're giving me plus 650 on a decision for a guy who has excellent top control against a guy who's hard to defeat. Jamahal, what I do like about him, here's where I'll give him a little bit of respect. I don't think he's going to be easy to submit. I like how when Paul Craig, attempted the, armbar, he just broke Jamahil's arm. And Jamahal tried to fight with that broken arm. So you can't take away the heart from Jamahal. Jamahal has tons of heart. Jamahal does have knockout power, but when you're getting taken down by Thiago Santos, Klidson Abreu multiple times, sure, you're getting back up, but none of those guys have the top control that Glover has. I think Glover has excellent top control. I think he has excellent heart. I think that his new training partner in Alex Pereira will help him with his striking defense. But again, no, I am not going to be shocked at any result here. I'm not going to be shocked at a finish for either fighter. But if you're giving me plus 650 on a decision for Glover Teixeira, who has had many 5-round fights, and we also, let's not forget, that fight was extended a lot longer than it should have been against Thiago Santos when it was Jamahal versus Thiago Santos. Everyone thought that was going to finish too. Listen, light heavyweight is a division where you show your opponent respect because it is big boys, diverse striking. Sure, it can happen, but at the same time, you want to be careful and cautious. You don't want to overextend on a shot and get taken down. That's kind of what I see here. So for all of those reasons, Glover Teixeira wins by decision at plus 650. Hot take of the week.
That is amazing.
I like it.
That is amazing. It's crazy to think that I think some of the breakdowns you have, the way that I hear you say it, I could like picture it in my head because I've been watching MMA for a while. Like I could picture things happening in my head. So I think your explanation is pretty much on point there as far as like why you think that's gonna happen. Let's go with Harry. Harry, what do you think? What is your hot take of the week?
So I like YBB's take. I absolutely like that. the way that I see it, I think it's crazy, first of all, that Paul Craig is an underdog against Johnny Walker, a guy who has just been getting like comically knocked out in his last few fights, like cartoonishly knocked out, has cartoonishly bad fight IQ. But Paul Craig by submission, you can get it at plus 275 right now. Some books it's still floating around plus 300. I took it originally at plus 365 earlier in the week. So the price coming down on that tells you some money's coming in there. But I mean, it would not surprise me whatsoever to see Johnny Walker come out, guns blazing, almost chins Paul Craig, sits him down on his ass, and then like an absolute dummy, Johnny Walker dives right into Paul Craig's very dangerous full guard and gets himself finished, gets himself triangled, gets himself armbarred, gets himself choked to fucking sleep, whatever it may be. I mean, Paul Craig probably, I don't think it's a hot take to say Paul Craig has the best jiu-jitsu in the light heavyweight division. I can't think of anybody else off the top of my head who would take that claim from him. But yeah, you know, a guy who we've seen has the ability to kind of take damage, weather the storm, wear you down, and he just needs you to make one mistake. That's all it takes. One split second mistake, and he snatches an arm, he snatches your neck, he's grabbed a limb, whatever the fuck it is. And I think Paul Craig can get it done by submission here, and at 3-1, I absolutely love that.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's funny, the Paul Craig comment that you made. I think you're right. I feel like I don't know why he's a dog either. I mean, it makes a lot of sense that to the point that you were making earlier, he should. What would you say your odds would be if you were to put this line?
I mean, honestly, I think I would have it like basically straight up flipped. Like yeah, I think Johnny Walker at plus 160 is a lot more logical than Paul Craig at plus 160.
Yeah. Do you think it's like a stylistic fight, like in that sense?
I guess so, in the sense that like, yeah, like Johnny is more of a striker, Paul Craig is a jiu-jitsu guy. I mean, Paul Craig is one of the last like pure specialists we have left in this sport, you know what I mean? So no, of course he's not going to be as good in the striking. No, like Johnny Walker will have the advantage there. But the problem is it's honestly it's something we've seen with Charles Oliveira before. Like he's not afraid to get in the pocket with you and take some shots and get knocked out because he trusts that his submission game off his back is so goddamn good that you're not going to follow him there. And if you do, that's your mistake. That's a problem.
Yeah.
I actually agree with Harry. After you break it down like that, it's Paul Craig is not afraid. He's not afraid to get hit or put on his back or sat down. And the other thing is I think he fights pretty well under pressure. You saw him fight in London. He just snatches up Nikita Krylov, who, you know, he's just Paul Craig is notorious for finishes. He just looks for it. So, I mean, respect there. I have no opinions on this fight. I'm completely off of it. I just want to watch it. But yeah, I totally agree with your take.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of not being scared to get hit, that's where I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Figueiredo to win by decision plus 225. I think I think you guys talked me into this one. I think that it does go the distance here. We talked about Moreno. He got a chin, man. I think this here we've seen it already. Figueiredo, I feel like owns this matchup between the two fighters. And with Moreno, I said earlier, I think Moreno, it's either Figueiredo by decision or he submits him because he's not going to knock out Moreno. So the more likely case, I feel like, is going to be the decision at plus 225. That would be the simple way that I go. I think we talked about it. Like, you don't have to get too crazy with how we do these things, making bets and stuff. Plus 225, I feel like that's doable here in this situation. That's going to be the simple way that I go. Figueiredo wins by decision. 225, I like it. Not too bad at all. Get plus money in a situation where I think he's gonna win and go the distance. So we'll see. I think you guys talked me into it a little bit earlier, but let's go into the best bets here. We got the best bets, not really hot takes, but what do you think is your best bet for this one here, Harry?
Honestly, man, I think Glover straight up at plus 120. Like we said earlier, keep it simple, stupid. Like you're getting a former champion at plus money against an opponent that he matches up with very well stylistically. Yes, of course, he's a bit older, like a bit less explosive, but I mean, like you said, there's a lot of spots that you can dive in and try and get some extra juice there if you want. I like him by sub as well, but I think Glover straight up plus money is a very, very good play. I think there's great value there, and personally, I would cap him as favorite in this fight.
Yeah, I mean, the breakdowns you guys talked about earlier, it really pushes me now because like I said earlier, I liked Hill, and the way that you guys break it down, the angles that you taking, it just really points me towards Teixeira here. I might get with you guys on that Teixeira play. Pat, let's go to you. What's your best bet for this one?
My best bet is the other Maheta. We're going to go with Ismail Bonfim to knock out Terrence McKinney. Now, we were talking off air, me and Harry, about why I just don't think the hype is there with Terrence McKinney. Listen, they don't want him to fight Paddy Pimblett because he'll do bad things to Paddy Pimblett. Sure, that's fine. Paddy Pimblett's not really a great fighter.
That goes for most of the lightweight division.
Most of the lightweight division. Terrence McKinney is a very I don't want to even say one-dimensional, but he is probably the best 1 minute fighter that we have in the division. He can fight for 1 minute, but boy, can he gas out if he can't get you out. I don't think that it's, impossible for him to knock out Ismail Bonfim at all. But here's what I will say. I think that Bonfim has good striking. He's got good wrestling. He's well-rounded. He's coming off a good win against Abasov. And if you don't know who Abasov is a guy who actually fought in the Russian scene. He's also fought at ACA. This guy is established. For you to win unanimously over this guy, massive. I like Bonfim. I like him. I would honestly make him the favorite. I think Terrence McKinney gets a drop, knocked out. And let's not forget, this is Terrence McKinney's first fight outside the United States. That pressure is going to be a lot for him. Ismail Bonfim, he's fought in front of crowds before. He's used to the pressure. He's been there, done that. He's fought, I don't want to say better competition, but he has fought established competition. The thing with Terrence McKinney as well is, we were talking about this. You run that fight back with Matt Frivola knocks him out. Yes, I'm just going to say it as it is. I'm going to say it as it is. Harry knows. Harry trains with Matt Frivola. He knows Matt Frivola.
Right. That's right. So, I've gotten kicked in my stomach many times by Matt Frivola. It's not fun. Not pleasant.
Terrence McKinney, full of highlights, but this is not it. I think Ismail Bonfim, I like him pretty big too. I would consider him to be like a minus 170 favorite. Terrence McKinney,
wow.
I know, hot take. I'm not the biggest Terrence McKinney believer, guys. You're asking me, or you're asking him to travel to a humid environment in Brazil where it's loud. He's already sweaty. They're not gonna have air condition at this arena. Brazilians are used to it. You're asking him to win in those conditions. He has 2 minutes to do so. Can he do it?
Right.
Yeah, maybe he can. But I think
a lot of people forget him getting fucking blasted by a knee from
Sean Woodson.
Yeah, Sean Woodson on Contender
and
Series.
Woodson's a featherweight.
Through him.
Woodson is a featherweight, guys. Like he's
a massive featherweight. But
he's a massive featherweight. Okay, let's be real. He could probably fight at welterweight, but it just goes to show. I mean,
in boxing back in the day.
Yeah, and Terrence McKinney, man, I'm just saying, like, there's gonna be a spot where I think his hype kind of comes down, and I think this is it. I'm going with Bonfim, and there's a reason why. You would think, looking at it, you think the name value. You're gonna think, oh, Terrence McKinney, this is the smash spot. If you watch the tape, this is not a smash spot. No, not at all. So give me Bonfim money line.
And Pat, would you agree that I would venture to say that the money is going to come in on McKinney on fight day? I think people are going to see the name,
they're going to see the name.
Contender Series debutant. The money's going to come in on Terrence McKinney. So I wouldn't be surprised if you could get this at like plus 130 on fight day.
100%. And I like Bonfim's check hooks, and I think that Terrence McKinney is really suspect to those.
Right.
So, like I said, you're giving me a guy with 2 minutes of gas versus a guy who has gone the distance with ACA Russian fighters. Oh, sign me up. Bonfim all day. So,
ACA,
that's where I'm going.
No
that's
joke,
that's a good point.
No
I like that play a lot, too. I wasn't too familiar with the Bonfim brothers until we talked. We kind of chopped it up through DM like a couple of days ago. You guys put me on, and so I was looking at some of their stuff, and I wasn't too familiar until then, but you mean that would probably be the only way that I look as well. I'm gonna close it out here with another keep it simple moment. Like I just took the hot take at plus 225. Why do I not take them at plus 100? Right, Figgy money line plus 100. I mean, even if I take both of those and he doesn't get the decision, he wins in some other fashion. We still get the push, right? Basically, at plus 100. But I think one thing that what Pat mentioned earlier is he thinks money is going to continue to go on Moreno's side. So this might be a situation where you kind of just wait until fight day, right? In that case, and maybe you get a little bit more plus money on that for your money. That's just I think that might be the slogan of this show now. Keep it simple, stupid. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right?
It does.
It makes a lot of sense.
Keep it simple.
Figgy money
There's
line
worse
plus 100.
advice.
We broke it down a little bit earlier. I think that's just the way that I go here. Man, I think we had an awesome show. 45 minutes in the books. We talked about some stuff. Obviously, we can do it a little bit cleaner. I'm gonna be better as I continue to host the show because I'm learning from you guys. Some of the breakdowns when you watch these fights and the breakdowns you guys say and the things that you guys you expect to happen, I could literally picture it in my head because I've seen the fight so much. But it's amazing to hear the terminology said in a different way from just fighting, but also from a betting aspect. And I just hope to continue to learn from you guys here on this show. Any last comments before we cut out here?
Hey, appreciate you having us on, brother. It was a blast, and like you said, everything's a work in progress. I'm sure we'll get better and better as we go. And yeah, I'm excited, boys. Let's have some fun. Pat?
Yeah, I think that this was an excellent first episode of Cap the Cage. This was great. Thanks for having us on, and yeah, we'll be back next week to discuss the following card.
Yes, sir. We'll do a little recap at the beginning of the show, then discuss the next card. All right, till then, guys. Good luck with all your action. Peace.
Peace.
Later, boys.